you very much. So I'd just like to invite the panel to come on stage. Come ahead. So just very briefly, I'm going to kind of give an overview of the Horizon Europe Transmixer project. We're delighted to be here today. Congratulations to all the organisers of United Europe XR Europe. This has been a fantastic event and there's been great positive energy. So as I said, my name is Niall Murray. I'm from the Technology University of Shannon in Ireland, and I'm here to talk about the Transmixer project. So in Transmixer, we're very fortunate to have had a fantastic team, diverse in terms of location, but also diverse in terms of competencies and expertise. Specifically, we've had a lovely balance in what we call the media practitioner side, and many of the panel here today represent news media, broadcast, performing arts and cultural heritage. And really in the context of Transmixer, rather than taking a technology-centric view of what the CCS need, we looked at the technologies through the eyes of the creative and cultural sector to see where they can make impact in the kind of project. And I would kind of identify 3 project outputs, one around workflows to support the CCS in terms of their adoption of AI and XR technologies. In the context of those workflows then, we developed a range of modular, pluggable technology components, and we will release a Transmixer platform where these will be accessible to you. And lastly, in the context of these technologies and workflows, we placed a huge emphasis on evaluations to understand in a pragmatic sense where these technologies bring value. Okay, we instantiated then these technologies and workflows in the context of 4 pilots. The first was the performing arts, and we have Tupac here who led this from SATORE Studio. And we really looked at, in this use case or pilot, how these technologies can support the performing arts sector and what's actually possible with these technologies for performing arts. In terms of cultural heritage, we looked at how can we democratize immersive storytelling for cultural heritage organizations. So again, we looked at this impact from a sectorial perspective. In terms of news media, we considered how we could support the work of journalists with reliable and efficient tools. Reliable and efficient tools. And lastly, in terms of new broadcast, we looked at how we could produce in real-time TV programs without the need for a physical gallery in a role-aware manner. So, we've had a fantastic presence here at this event. We're over in the shed in booth 3. Please come and see all these technologies in operation. And Tupac is upstairs here in the music room on floor 2, where you will see the performing arts experience. Tupac is saying to me it's full here. Okay, so the really interesting people are sitting to my right here, and it's been a pleasure for me to work with them over the last couple of years. This project is actually finishing in December. So what I'm going to do now is introduce each of the panel members. So on the far right, and I hope I get the pronunciation correct, we have Marie Hôpital from Agence France-Presse. So Marie has led the pilot on news media. Okay, she's done a fantastic job on this, and we're really excited to hear more on this. She has quite a unique perspective. Beside Marie is Philine KREUZER, all right, from the Netherlands Institute for Sound and Vision. And Philine led the pilot for cultural heritage. Beside Philine, we have Trevor Ó CLOCHARTAIGH from TG4. Trevor led the pilot on news broadcast. Beside Trevor, we have Tupac MARTIR from SATORE Studio, and Tupac led the pilot on performing arts. And beside Tupac, we have Pablo CESAR from CWI, and Pablo is the technical coordinator of the project. Okay, so please come and see us in the booths to actually see these technologies in operation. We're really proud of the fact that we actually deliver things that make impact in these sectors. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Pablo. Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. I hope you're still alive after a couple of days of this. So I'm going to be moderating the panel. Basically what I'm going to be doing is making sure that these people, they don't speak too long. Sorry, Tupac. So the main idea of the project and what we've been doing for the last 3 years is being trying to understand how technologies, workflows, and everything helps or can help the cultural sector. So I'm the technical coordinator, which means that I've been coordinating the development of a set of tools from artificial intelligence to anything related to immersive experiences, templates, social XR. And today I'm going to take the role that I took in the project, that is just to listen to them. So I'm just going to be asking the questions, basically. So the first thing, of course, is that we want to know better who you are. So we are going to start from Marie. And then what I would like is a couple of minutes of introduction of what have you been doing these 3 years within these technologies, what were the workflows that you were using in the past, how they have changed or not, what were the challenges, how technologies is somehow helping or not helping in all this process. So maybe Marie, you can start.
Yes, so I'm Marie Hospital, so I'm a journalist for Agence France-Presse, the international news agency, and we were the leader of the news media use case. And what we did, along with our media partners, RTV Slovenia, which is the public broadcaster in Slovenia, TG4, TG Car in Ireland, Spark News in France, we imagined a set of tools, a mix of AI tools and XR tools to help newsrooms produce new types of contents for new audiences. So as you can come and see on our booth, we have like a whole workflow where first, like when you're a journalist, you need to find the news, so you need to search on the story you're going to write about. So we have a news monitoring tool that centralizes all the sources that you are monitoring every day as a journalist. Then we have a StoryPack editor tool that can assist the journalist when the journalist is writing the story. And then we have a video formatting tool that is a really easy to use tool to summarize videos, to transform videos from horizontal to vertical formats. And all this process then can lead the journalist to then produce, so first he researches or she researches on the content, on the story that it's going to produce. And then we have guidelines to produce an immersive experience around a news event. So here, with our colleagues from RTV Slovenia, we tried to set up a workflow that is as easy as possible for journalists to produce an immersive experience around a news event. And we chose from the different workshops we organized at the beginning of the project with the professional, the general public, we understood that people want to, they told us we want to use immersive experience to be in the shoes of someone or to go to locations that we don't have access to easily. So we chose, and they were quite interested also in sporting events. So it was an easy choice because in Slovenia there is the biggest sporting event in Slovenia is the World Ski Jumping Championships every year. And so with RTV Slovenia they are covering the event every year. So what we did is like Matej, one of the colleagues from RTV Slovenia, he went there with his mobile phone. He shot images from the ground with his mobile phone. Then we shot images with a drone over the site. And all those images were processed in an app that is called Luma Labs to transform the 2D images in volumetric images. And then our partners, HSLU from Switzerland, university in Switzerland, they created the whole experience on Unity. So now you're like on a hot air balloon and you fly over Planica, which is the name of the sporting event. And then we integrated some news in it because we thought, oh, okay, we can talk about climate change here and the effect it can have on ski resorts. So we have like, you can listen to an interview with an expert on climate. And so the idea was to show, okay, you can create such an immersive experience around a news event and it's not, okay, it's still a bit complicated, but not so much. I mean, it's accessible for newsrooms, and that's what we wanted to demonstrate.
Yeah, thank you so much. So this is a whole toolbox for the newsroom, and it's it's been very interesting.
Yeah, and you can come and test everything down there in the shed.
Yeah, so if you go to the shed, then you go to the right, and you see a huge booth. This is us. Philine.
It's my turn?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Philine KREUZER, and I'm here on behalf of the Netherlands Institute for Sound and Vision. We are the audiovisual archive of the Netherlands, and we also have a media museum. So as part of Transmixer, we represented the cultural heritage use case, and we started from the question that we already heard earlier a bit from Niall, with how can we democratize, so make more accessible, immersive storytelling for our sector, for cultural heritage, so everything that's archives, libraries, museums. And what we were sort of seeing was that many institutions couldn't afford immersive storytelling, quite expensive production often. Most of the time, XR experiences get used in one exhibition, then they get thrown out. So it's not a very sustainable solution for many places. So we wanted to find an answer to this. And we also wanted to move away from this idea of digital twins of museums. So in the pandemic, this was quite a popular format. People couldn't actually come to visit museums, so it was popular to make a digital reproduction and have people visit it on their browsers or in VR. We didn't want to do that anymore. People come to our museum, that's great. So we wanted something more storytelling oriented. So what we ended up making together with our colleagues from CWI and TUS and Cora, who can't be here today, we made an interference in the workflow at 3 points. So at the production side, at the exhibition side, and at the reuse side. In the production process, we used the platform VR Together by CWI for XR designers and cultural heritage professionals to meet in VR and discuss together the opportunities that VR or XR, generally speaking, has to offer for our field, because often we do face this issue with colleagues that they don't really know what XR means. I have colleagues at our institute myself that keep on thinking we're talking about Extinction Rebellion, and they don't know what we mean. But that's not this time. We can talk about Extinction Rebellion another time. So this platform really facilitates this collaboration in VR. This is the production side, and the exhibition part, we created a VR game called The Space Archivists. You can also come play it in the booth. It's a social VR game, and the idea is that it is templatable. So at Sound and Vision, we can reuse it for different exhibitions because there's some media content that can be updated, and that can easily be updated by curators themselves without lots of tech know-how. And other cultural heritage institutions can also get access to the same template and use it with their own collection media. And this way we wanted to share this knowledge and to spread this specific storytelling idea of this game. The third element, I already mentioned it a little bit, is the reuse element. So we built an application that the curators themselves can use to edit this game template. And I think we will talk more about it in a little bit, but for now, I give on to my colleague, Trevor.
Thanks, Philine. So my name's Trevor Ó CLOCHARTAIGH. I work for TG4, which is one of the national public service broadcasters in Ireland, and we broadcast mainly in the Irish language. Compared to most public service broadcasters, we're tiny. We have 133 people working with us, so we're not like the BBC or any of the other big stations. We don't have an innovation department. Nobody in our organization had ever really used VR before this project. So when it came to how do you reinvent news broadcasting with VR, what we had to do initially was to brainstorm with all of our colleagues on the team. The initial concept, I suppose, is around, well, how do you create a news bulletin? If we created a news bulletin that was in VR, that might be really interesting. So that's what we did. We endeavored in the pilot project to create a half-hour news bulletin in VR with a presenter, a news presenter who's in the studio represented in a volumetric fashion with inputs from a 360 camera and from other outside interviews, etc. But it was, as we were working through the process, we kind of felt, well, actually, this has been done quite a bit. It's not that unusual. It's not that innovative. but where we found that the real magic could start to happen was in the production process. And when we looked at the traditional way we produce news, you have news editors, directors, vision mixers sitting in a physical gallery with all of their buttons and screens in front of them. We said, what if we could actually reinvent all of this in a VR environment? So that's what we ended up doing. We reinvented and reimagined how you could produce news in a news gallery. So we used our own team in TG Car to test all of these technologies. We worked with Immersion, who are a technology company from Bordeaux. We worked with CERT and we worked with CWI, 2 universities who specialize in this area. And as we went through, we iterated a new news production gallery. It was very much an iterative process that we would find a new update, a new version of the software would be presented to us. We learned quite quickly how to use the VR headsets and how to interact. We monitored what features worked, what didn't, which ones didn't we need, which ones did the techies like but the operators didn't like. So what should we dump and what should we keep? So the result then is that we have a production gallery where we produce this half-hour news program for the project of Transmixer. But I think for us as well, this whole journey has been something much more exciting than just an output of a program. For us, we're completely new to EU Horizon funded projects. That in itself, I think you should probably do a PhD in before you ever try to do one of these projects with all the work packages, the terminologies, etc. But for us, we're a tiny broadcaster on the west coast of Ireland broadcasting to the world. We don't have an innovation budget really. We don't have an innovation department, but all of a sudden through this project, hey presto, we have a big innovation department. We have access to some of the best minds in the world, some of the best collaborators in the world, and we were able to dream dreams that we could never dream by ourselves. So this has been an amazing journey. It's 3 years. What we've done is we've prototyped some really good ideas. It's forced us and all of our team to think about VR. I think initially there was as Philine said, there was kind of a bit of a hesitance to go towards this technology because it was seen as a bit of a fad. It's what gamers do. It's a kind of a very, very niche thing, but it will never take off. So for us, it's about opening our minds. It's about connecting with new people. It's about pushing our own boundaries. And it is about reinventing. It's about reimagining the whole world of how we work. And it was interesting as well from our perspective that this really had come on the foot of COVID-19. And because we're based in a pretty remote area, we were finding it quite difficult to find personnel during COVID. So the fact that you could reinvent a production gallery where people didn't actually have to be physically or geographically close to each other, that they could work together to produce a program, even though they might be in completely different places, opened up new possibilities to us from the point of view of recruiting people to work with us, particularly from a DEI perspective of bringing people into the workforce who might not be able to come into the traditional workforce. So there's a whole heap of tangential positives that would come from a project like this, as well as the friendship, the knowledge, the sharing, the fun, the laughter, some tears, a few arguments, but we got over that. But it's just been a really wonderful experience for everybody. So happy to answer some more questions and hand over to Tupac.
You passed me because of the tears. My name is Tupac MARTIR. I am an artist and an internet user. I've been working mainly in performance for the past 20 years of my life. When we started the project, we did a big consensus of what was going on in performance, only to find out that most performance companies didn't have the money to put something in digital, let alone put something on stage. Throughout these 3 years, the laboratory at the digital lab at the National Theatre closed. And so, one of the few standards that we had has gone. And so for us, it was really important to understand what were the possibilities, and especially for all these performance companies, to understand where to start, where to begin, who were the partnerships that you were trying to do. Because unfortunately, sometimes a dance company will get together with a university, but they will do like the most, what I would call, simplest thing, and then off they go because of time, because of resources. So it was really important for us to understand how to help the whole performance side of things. So dance, music, theater, opera, and so utilizing different versions of an idea. How can we spin that around? And so what we have upstairs at the music room is what I call now immersive square. So it's an immersive theater piece using immersive technologies. And so how can these two get put together to create actually something different? Because the mistake that we've been doing in performance is that we keep trying to do something that's on stage to be in virtual or to be in XR. And actually what we have to do is reinvent the medium to exist as a different form.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I think that one of the beauties of the project is not only that we had 4 different, very separate type of pilots, from performing arts to journalists to cultural heritage to broadcast, but as well that we have each of the groups, they had a different exposure to XR and AI. And I think that's been one of the, at least for me as a technical coordinator, one of the most interesting parts of it. That it's not the same, of course, talking to someone like Tupac, who is already ahead of the game in anything that has to do technology, than to other partners that maybe they are just looking at that and trying to figure out, hey, what's going on? So I have a couple of questions. Of course, I have a main person to answer, but anyone can say anything you want, as always, in any of our meetings. So the first question, it goes more about, we had a meeting, and I think we can all agree that the cultural sector, cultural heritage, is really living in a survival mode, right? It's somehow, we are in a moment in which surviving is the core thing that we can do. So my question is, okay, how can you innovate in such a mode in which basically people is just looking for a job, or is not understanding what's happening, is not knowing what is going to do? So where's the role there of innovation? Is there any even possibility to innovate, or?
For me?
For example?
Yeah, so yeah, the news sector is in survival mode right now with this Gen AI revolution, and everything is changing fast, and we have to reinvent our business model because people consume news differently. And so, but the thing is, I mean, we need to innovate to survive. So, and we don't have the money to do it ourselves. So that's why projects like Transmixer are really essential. And when you see everything we've done in 3 years, I mean, we could never have done that like just us, AFP. And it's so much enriching to share and to collaborate. Like there were 22 partners in the project, and that's what we need. We need more of Transmixer, basically.
Okay, well, that was not such setup. That was.
Maybe also from the museum cultural heritage side, it's definitely a time where many colleagues, especially of smaller institutions, tell us this is not a moment to think about bringing XR to our institutions because we cannot afford it. And I think this is also something that is important to recognize. We're not trying to push any technology on anyone. We just want to offer understanding of what is there. So a really important part of this project has been to do capacity building in a way of talking to people, what are your needs in the field? What can this technology bring to you, and how does it work? And how does it also maybe not work? And I already mentioned for the cultural heritage sector specifically, what we have made was also definitely in response to this survival mode, because the template that we created, the different types of technology, they want to offer a more affordable and a more sustainable solution to colleagues in the field.
Yeah. I can go to the next question, or you want to? Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so I mean, from the point of view of broadcast, I mean, it's changed completely in the last 10 to 15 years, where we used to try and fight against the bigger broadcasters on our island. We're now fighting against Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc., to try and find audiences. So for us to try and engage with new technologies, particularly to engage younger people to watch our content, because it's like going off a cliff edge. People, when you look at the statistics of people under 35 watching television, it's just not happening anymore. So we really need to be able to engage with partners like these to try and be imaginative, be fun, be innovative, and create content and bring the content to where the people are. And VR for us shows an opportunity to do that. I feel it's still in its infancy. From a lot of the presentations we're seeing and a lot of the exhibits we're seeing, it still hasn't gone mainstream. So I think there's still a long way to go. But for us, as a small, innovative TV station whose motto is Sulela, or to take an alternative perspective on life, we want to be at that cutting edge. We want to be the first surfer on the beach. We want to be there ahead of BBC, ahead of Amazon or Prime. So if anybody there wants to help us, please come and talk to us on the booth after the conversation.
You tell them.
May I can go to the next
Yeah, go
question,
to
and
the
then
next
Tupac,
question.
I have one very good for you. So, a second question is more about, okay, we want to, of course, innovate. We want to create something new. We want to create a future, but luckily here, I will say in Europe, we want to create it in a way that is inclusive, that is ethical. So how can we combine both things? And maybe we can go first to Philine, and then
Yeah,
probably
happy
Tupac
to
has-
respond to this. So I think it's important to recognize when basically working with any technology that there's always already a limit to inclusivity and accessibility, because the way hardware is designed is biased. So when we recognize this, I think we can move on and look, for example, at the software that we've been making in this project, and think very specifically of who we want to address. So you cannot be making something that's accessible to everyone, because then it's accessible to no one. It's too generic. So for the specific cultural heritage context, the VR game that we made, we address children from 10 plus and their parents or grandparents who come together to our museum to play. So within our design process, we have engaged children from day one. They were part of low fidelity prototyping that we did. They were our testing audience. They gave feedback. They said, I like this, I hate this. And this way we were, I think, pretty successful in making something that actually speaks to this very specific audience. This doesn't mean that it works for everyone, but it is inclusive for who we wanted it to be inclusive for.
And if I could add there, Pablo, I think what's really important about the project is the European perspective on this. The European ethics frameworks, the GDPR frameworks. One of the big issues for us when we discuss news and news broadcasts was the idea of truth and provenance, of knowing where the news is coming from, being able to believe the news, etc. And I think being within a framework of a European project like this is really important in that perspective. For us, competing against the mega companies, which aren't based in Europe as well, it's really important that we have a framework, we have supports, and we're working with partners who come from a similar background, because we work in a public service ethos, so therefore those issues are very, very important for us in the way we deliver for our audiences as well.
Yeah, time is running a lot. So I'm going to ask just one last question to the panel, getting the approval there. So this is primarily for Tupac, because Tupac is involved in so many international efforts, is well known in so many of these places. And one of the questions we all have is that, okay, at the end of the day here in Europe, we can put money in innovation, but maybe we are not developing the actual technologies. We are not in the forefront of what needs to happen in order to change and make the changes. So maybe, Tupac, you have some comments on what are these new technologies, who is building them, how can we actually do it ourselves?
So everyone who's heard me rant for the past 3 months knows that I hate big tech at the moment. And I think that's a problem. I think that the issue is we are being taken hostage by technologies and companies that actually don't have us on their frame of mind. And so it's up to us to find new solutions, to get together and actually push the standards that we're talking about, that it's important that we create from the ground up the tools that we want and make sure that they exist. Because if we leave it to other people, if we leave it to other countries, if we leave it to other corporations, they're greedy sons of bitches, sorry. And so we need to make sure that that actually stays and that the hard work that people put doesn't get lost because someone decided that they want to make a profit on their P&L. And so, the only way that we can do this is by actually creating the tools, maintaining the tools, and finding ways of maintaining those tools for ourselves, so that the greedy corporations that live in the outside world of where we are actually have to start changing and developing and allowing for us to maintain the standards that we're talking about, the things and the tools that we've created. And there's no other way, They are one with a lot of money and we're a bunch with not as much. But if we get put together, here's the socialist inside of me, we can actually go in and defeat these elements, because at the end of the day, what gets destroyed and what gets lost is heritage. It's the things that people, it's money, is a lot of things, a lot of investment, a lot of, very, very smart individuals and experience that gets lost if we don't look into it.
Okay, I think that's a nice point on which we can wrap up. Outside of all of the successes with the project around workflows, technology, and all these pieces, I think the main success was how empowered the different stakeholder groups feel in the project, and it comes straight through in this panel. I'd love if we could stay for another half an hour, we could stay all day. Please interact with us at booth 3. Everything is there. Tupac is upstairs in the music room, and thank you very much to the organizers.
I live upstairs.
Thank you very much.